Hello DofEers, and welcome back to our third training video, which is equipment and how to pack your rucksack. So obviously all the equipment and packing your rucksack revolves around this bad boy. You want a pack that's between 60 and 70 litres. These are 60 litre packs. I'm going to go into more detail about the packs themselves though in a little while, so we'll move past that for now and come back to them. Clearly you're going to need something to sleep on, so that involves three bits of equipment, sorry. So your sleeping bag, which obviously needs to be warm enough for the temperature dropping overnight, and it can get colder than you expect, even in the summer. And if we end up going on our expeditions a bit later than planned, you know, September, October time, you need to make sure that your sleeping bag is going to be warm enough. So it needs to be a season 3 or a season 4. If you are going to borrow one of ours, we'll make sure that it's warm enough for you. If you're going to bring one of your own, please make sure you let me know what it is first so I can check that it will be okay. As well as a sleeping bag, especially if it's one of ours, one of the school ones, you'll need a sleeping bag liner. This is an extra layer of warmth, but also it means that you can just wash this and not wash that massive sleeping bag. Much easier just to take that home and give that a quick wash. And then you'll also have your roll mat, which will give you a little bit of extra comfort on top of the grass so you're not too chilly. And so your back doesn't hurt. You may be thinking, how about a pillow? Obviously a pillow is way too bulky and big to bring along with you. If you have one of those little inflatable pillows, feel free to bring that. If not, just fold up a fleecy top or, you know, just a few bits of clothing and sleep on that as a pillow. You'll be absolutely fine. As well as that, you'll have your tent. Now, your tent and your trangier, which we'll come to in a minute, those are items that are obviously going to be shared. So you're not going to be carrying this entire tent in your pack and a trangier as well. You're going to need to discuss within your group who's going to be carrying which piece. So you may only have the poles of the tent or just the actual outer part of the tent, or you might, they like each other really, or you might have the trangier but not the tent. You're not going to have every single piece because those are shared items, so that's just something to bear in mind. Then some other things that you should really consider when it comes to your bag and keeping everything dry and safe and secure. There's a couple of things. Firstly, you can get these little compression bags, so you put things into them and then you can make them smaller and squish things into a smaller space, and that obviously makes them easier to pack. Or you can also get these dry bags, which are great because they keep everything dry, funnily enough. You put your item in, you can roll it to whatever size, clip it together, and that's going to be waterproof inside your pack. However, these things obviously cost money. If you don't have them already, or if you don't think you'll ever need them again, or not soon, then you may not want to buy them at the moment. So what you can use instead is good old-fashioned bin liners. But please make sure, at the very least, you have these, and this, as I was saying, is to go inside the bag. We're not talking about the outside. We've got rain covers for those, which we'll come to when we go through the pack. So you put that inside your bag and put everything inside the bin liner inside the backpack, and then you've got that protection from the rain, because obviously it would be awful if all of your stuff got wet. It would be horrible and miserable. Okay, so moving on to some other items that you're going to need. Again, this is a shared item, first aid kit. You're going to need one first aid kit between 3 or 4 people, depending on which one of the kits we give you. You don't need to bring this, we'll provide this for you. Actually, that's a good point. Virtually all of this we can provide for you. So the pack, the roll mat, the sleeping bag, the liners, the tents, all of that, the first aid kit, we can lend to you. It's not a problem. The only thing you need to consider are the little dry bags that go inside, or just bringing bin liners. All the rest of that so far we can lend to you. Obviously the first aid kit is something that I will make sure we give to you. If you want to bring your own, I'll need to check it. So we need to make sure that everything you need is inside there. Okay, let's go down to these bits and pieces over here now then. So these are to do with navigation and just generally making your expedition more comfortable. Clearly you're going to need a map. Again, you're not going to have a map each, you're going to have a few maps between your team. Just make sure that you have as many as you need, usually one between 2 or 3. We'll make sure you've got what you need. And you should have a map case as well to keep that waterproof. Some of the maps are waterproof, but not all of them, so we need to make sure you have a case. I don't have one here, but you will be given one. You'll need a compass, if you maybe compass between 2 or 3 people again. And then some optional items here. This is a little light that you can use inside your tent. They're really great because you charge them up. Obviously they don't need any batteries, you just charge them before you bring them with you, like a mobile phone. A ball of string, you may think, what on earth could I need that for? Actually, that can be really handy for essential repairs if something goes wrong. If you have one of these multi-tools, you can bring one of those as well, but please don't bring anything that has a blade, because we're not allowed to have those with us. If it doesn't have a blade, feel free to bring it. That's optional. Just if you have something like that, they can be handy. This is a little power pack and a charger cable. Now, as I've told you before, on DofE you shouldn't be using your phone other than to be taking photographs for evidence. So if you're not taking photos, then your phone should just be switched off and in your pocket or in your bag. But obviously you must have it with you in case there's an emergency, in case you need to call us, because you will have the school phone number, the mobile phone number that we'll have with us. And if you know that your phone is a bit rubbish on battery life, or if you're the person who's taking the photos, you might want to consider bringing a power pack with you, and obviously a cable. Then alongside that, this is a little head torch. It can get very dark on campsite at night when you need to go off for a quick wee. You don't want to be getting lost or bumping into other people. Bring a head torch with you, or just a torch of some kind. Your phone if necessary, if it's got a good torch on it. Hand sanitizer, really, really useful. Obviously, bearing in mind the current climate, we definitely all want to have some of this, but putting that aside, we should have hand sanitizer anyway. So when we're out, having about to have our lunch and we're out on the actual walk itself, you want to make sure you've got nice clean hands if there's no running water nearby, which there's probably not going to be. All right, moving on then to food and preparing food. We have a few things here that you're going to need. So you'll need your trangier. Now again, that's going to be between 2 or 3 people. This is a little trangier, probably best for 2. You want one of the slightly larger ones if there's 3 of you. You'll need to figure that out across your group. As I said before, if you're carrying a trangier, you certainly shouldn't be carrying tent poles because they're quite heavy, but maybe you might have a trangier and maybe just the outer of the tent. You need to bear this in mind and figure out the weight. Then for food preparation, eating, etc., you're going to need some kind of water bottle to make sure that you can carry your water with you, at least this kind of size, maybe even a bit bigger. And then you're going to need some kind of cutlery and things to eat out of. So either something that's really light, like this plastic bowl, or you can get these great collapsible bowls and cups, which are really useful. This one is the same. This is a little cup, actually has a lid, this one, and you can also tie it onto your rucksack, so that becomes a mug. And lightweight cutlery. This is a long-handled spoon, a titanium spoon, weighs hardly anything. It's got something on the end so that you can attach it to your pack. Sporks are really useful. So they look like this, but they've got the little prongs, so they're kind of like a fork as well. Only bring what you're really, really going to need. When I camp, I'm on a lightweight camp, I never take anything other than this, because you can eat virtually anything with this, unless you really, really need something that needs cutting up. But I just try not to take anything like that. So just bear in mind what you're going to bring with you. Even better, perhaps you could have some food where you can just eat it straight out of the thing you made it in, but we'll come to that when we talk about food in a bit. Then also, when it comes to food preparation, at the end you're going to need to get rid of your rubbish and clean up. It is your responsibility to bring your washing up gear, so cloth, washing up liquid, maybe a scourer, it's just something to clean up with. And also some bin bags. Make sure you bring bin bags to chuck your rubbish away, and please don't forget those. Everybody always forgets these bits, and it's horrible because then you've got a greasy bowl or a cup or a plate or whatever that needs cleaning up, and it's irritating. Just here, I've just put these here to remind you that these are things that we will bring for you. You don't need to bring these things. So we will bring matches, we will bring the methylated spirits for the trangiers, and we'll bring the tent pegs as well. Those things you won't be carrying, the teachers will have those. So I just wanted to remind you that you don't need to worry about those. Okay, so let's go over minding macros. Let's go over just some more personal items. So clearly you're going to need some clothing. Now this will vary slightly from person to person and between girls and boys, what different things you need, but generally there are certain things that apply to everybody. So you will need some sturdy walking boots. Remember, some of this stuff that I've got laid out here you're going to be wearing. It's not necessarily going to be have to be packed because you'll have it on. So walking boots that you've worn before, that are broken in, not something brand new that you've never worn before. Maybe now's a good time, if you can afford it, to get a pair of walking boots and be wearing them around walking in circles in the garden. Or something like what I've got on here. These are trail runners, so these are kind of like the shoe equivalent of walking boots. Again, need to break these in if they're new. So just bear in mind what you're going to wear on your feet. It really shouldn't be trainers, just because they're not waterproof enough, they don't give you enough ankle support. You need to get something that's designed for walking, really. And if you're thinking, oh God, miss, that costs money, well, there's 2 ways around that. if you really don't think you're going to need them again, although I hope you will because you'll take up walking all the time after doing your DofE, you can get them really quite cheaply. Places like Decathlon, eBay, Mountain Warehouse. Remember, you can use your discounts at places like Go Outdoors, or we do actually have a collection of walking boots that we can lend you. In fact, these walking boots actually come from that collection. They were a pair of mine that I bought and were too small, and they're still in fantastic condition. You know, don't feel any shame about borrowing. So if you need to borrow something, just let me know. Then also, bring a pair of camp shoes. You might think these are naff, but we love them. The teachers all have these. These are about £5 off eBay or somewhere like Wilko. But the good thing about these is when you go into the showers or when you're walking through the wet grass at night, they weigh nothing, but they keep your feet warm and dry. And you don't know if the shower block is necessarily going to be that pleasant. So you want to bring a pair of these or a pair of flip-flops or Crocs or something like that. I know Cleo and Josie always pop their Crocs on the outside of their bag, which is always a good idea because you can just strap them through. So that's something good to bring to for the campsite. Alongside your shoes, you'll obviously need some sensible walking socks. You can get these really great double-layered walking socks that I've got here. So that means that when you're walking and they're rubbing, they rub on each other rather than you. Again, you can get those dead cheap from places like Mountain Warehouse, but if not, you can always wear 2 pairs of socks. And that's something to bear in mind when it comes to buying your walking boots. We always recommend perhaps going up a size so that you can wear thicker socks within them. Then the rest of your clothes. You're going to need to have something comfortable on your legs, something long, especially as we may well be in woodland. So I opt for walking leggings. I like leggings. These are water resistant. They dry very quickly. They're really comfy. They suit me, but obviously that's not right for everybody. So you may go for something more traditional, a walking trouser, but it needs to be something that ideally is water repellent or that isn't just going to soak up the water and make you freezing cold and make it heavy the whole time. Jeans are a no-no. Jogging bottoms, no, they're no good because they get soaking wet and they're heavy and they don't dry quickly. You will have these on, obviously, so you don't need to bring a second pair. You don't need to be bothered about that kind of stuff on expedition. Oh, I need to wear a new pair of trousers each day. No, don't be silly. It's not necessary. Just the pair that you've got on will be fine. And then to add to that, you should also have a pair of waterproof over trousers in case it buckets down. We can lend these to you if you need to borrow them. And also a waterproof jacket, or a cagoule, your parents might call them that. That's the old-fashioned name for them. We can lend these to you as well if you don't have one. So you need a good waterproof jacket, ideally windproof as well if you have one, or you can borrow one from us. Okay, what else? So when it comes to tops, actually before tops, I forgot about this. If it's a nice expedition, you can bring a pair of shorts with you as well. Don't just bring shorts only, because you just can't be sure if you might need something longer on your legs for protection for some reason. Do bring them if it's going to be nice weather, but make sure you have trousers too. Okay, back to tops then. So you're going to want something comfortable on your top half. If it's very, very hot, then that might be something short-sleeved or sleeveless, but still bring at least one long-sleeved item, even if it's a hot expedition. If it's not hot, then clearly you're going to want longer sleeve things. So I've got a couple of t-shirts here. These little thermal tops are really great. These can be bought from any of the outdoor type shops. I've actually got one on now. You want one that's made from merino wool, ideally. They're not that expensive. Pick them up for about £10, maybe even a little bit less. But they're very light. They dry very quickly. They keep you warm even if they get wet. So they're a really good idea. Again, you only need the one you've got on and one extra. You don't need loads. You don't need to worry about bringing lots of clothes because it just gets too heavy. Other clothes. Okay, so you're going to need something for bedtime. So bring some pyjamas with you. I really do bring pyjamas. Nighties aren't a great idea. Long pyjamas as well, because it may get cold. It almost does, or nearly always get cold at some point overnight. So make sure you've got pyjamas. Obviously some underwear. Girls, bear in mind when you're thinking about your bra that it needs to be something really comfortable, something stretchy, maybe a sports bra, nothing too fancy, something you'll be comfy in. And then extras on top of that, depending on the weather, a woolly hat. Now, I bring a woolly hat even on the warm expeditions, because at night I get cold when I'm in my sleep. Oh, hello, darling. When I'm in my sleeping bag, so a woolly hat is nice to keep you warm, because you won't have a pussycat to keep you warm. Or if it's going to be sunny, you might want a baseball cap, or you might want both, because it could be sunny in the day and cold at night. Any of you who've ever been walking with me before know I love a baseball cap. Always bring one of those with me. Gloves, if you're like me and always cold, bring some gloves, because it's horrible if you get chilly fingers. These ones are good because they've got the little touchscreen thing on the end. That's really handy. And then a scarf, or even better, one of these, which is called a buff. And these are brilliant because you can use them as a scarf, you can use them as a bandana, you can put them across your face, on your head, as a hat, whatever. They're really, really handy. And a pair of sunglasses. because you never know if the sun might come out. You don't want to be blinded. All right, we're getting there. So now round to your little personal bits and pieces, as well as your clothes, extra things that you're going to need or might want to consider. A towel. Now, everywhere that we go on expedition does have a shower block. We are not going to judge you though if you don't want to have a shower. If you can't be bothered, don't worry about it. Baby wipes are brilliant. You can even get these giant size baby wipes. Where did I get mine from? Home Bargains. They're the size of a towel. They're like a huge baby wipe. That'll do. Don't worry if you don't want to shower. No one's going to care. But you might want to consider just bringing a towel or a little flannel at least with you. Your personal bits and pieces, your little wash bag. So, just the basics, toothpaste, toothbrush, maybe a bit of shower gel, deodorant. I really wouldn't bother with anything else. Girls, don't stress about makeup. Well, boys either, don't stress about makeup. It's not worth it. No one cares. Then some other bits and pieces that you may want to consider. Sorry, I keep saying bits and pieces, repeating myself. Antihistamine. If you are prone to having reactions to stings or bites, you might want to bring some of that with you. Insect repellent for the same reason. Suntan lotion. Don't forget that one because it can be very hot if we're in sort of July time, which we may well be by the time we get back to school. If you know that you suffer with hay fever, we're going to be walking through fields and woods, bring some antihistamine tablets with you, or nasal spray. If you know that you're the kind of person that might need those, please don't forget to bring them with you because we won't have them with us. Then on a very personal level, you may want to bring some tissue or loo roll, and this, believe it or not, is actually a dog poo bag. You may laugh, but actually I always bring these with me. Loo roll, dog poo bag. Boys, you're okay, you can just pee in the bushes, but girls, if you need a wee when you're out on the expedition, you can't just chuck your toilet roll in the middle of nowhere. That's not a good idea. Have your wee, pop it in there, put it in your bag, tied up, chuck it in the bin later, no harm. And something else to bear in mind, girls, obviously, if you need to, don't forget to bring your sanitary products with you as well, so whether that's towels or tampons or whatever you need, remember to bring those too. And then finally, just for a little bit of entertainment, you may want to bring a book with you or some cards, because if it's raining, you're going to want something to do. It can get a little bit boring, let's be honest. If we can't sit out chatting to each other, it's not quite the same. So you might want to bring something some kind of entertainment with you. A little bit of cash, nothing major, you're really not going to need it, just a few pounds. And a watch, because if you're not using your phone like you normally would, you may prefer to have a watch just to be able to glance at it to know what the time is. So all that leaves now is the food, which is obviously really important, but I'm just going to lay that out so that I can then go through that with you in a minute. So I'll see you then. Okay, so food then. Come and have a look. I wish I had all the different examples of the food that would be suitable for the expedition. I don't have everything because obviously we're in a position where we can't shop for everything at the moment, but I've got some examples. So depending if you're on the bronze or the silver, you're going to need to be bringing different amounts of food. For both expeditions, you'll need your lunch for the first day. And then if you're on bronze, you'll need your evening meal, breakfast and lunch for the following day. If you're on silver, you'll need that as well as another evening meal and breakfast and lunch. So that can be quite a lot of food to carry. Now, as we said in the Trangia cooking video, you can't bring anything that's perishable with the exception of your lunch on the first day. So if that's got something in it that normally needs to be in the fridge, meat, cheese, whatever it might be, that's fine because you're going to be eating that within a few hours. Everything else has to be able to last outside of a fridge and not be too heavy. As you can see, there are no tins here whatsoever. So these are just some ideas of the sorts of things that you could bring. Obviously, fresh fruit is going to be okay because it's only a couple of days. That's absolutely fine. Dried fruit is a really good idea because that's delicious and sugary and packed full of calories, which is great when you're doing lots of walking. Any of these types of things that are really floaty light. So this is rice that just needs warming up. Now, I know it's apparently can only be prepared in the microwave, but that's not true. There's always ways around these sorts of things, and we can help you with that if you're not sure. Ask for advice before we go. There's lots of ways of cooking these things, even if they don't mention them on the packet. These ones, you just need to add water to them, and there'll be water on all of the campsites we go to, so they're a good idea. Or you don't have to buy them pre-packaged. You can just bring your own little packs of things. Even lighter than this would be if you just popped it into a plastic bag. That's absolutely fine. Just measure it out to the amounts that you need. And remember, you should consider all of this alongside what your teammates are bringing, because you could combine together. So some of you could bring the rice, one of you could bring like a sachet of sauce. You can get sachets like this of pre-prepared sauce that literally just need heating up. be clever about it. Share across each other, share your stuff with each other. Nuts, they're great. Crisps, anything like that, light but full of calories, and that's what you need, lots and lots of energy. And then also be clever about little things that you can buy. So these little mini squashes are great. I love those for camping. You can get like 20 lots of squash out of there, that dinky little squash. Those sachets that you get at well-known, not supermarkets, what am I trying to say, fast food restaurants, bring those with you if you particularly want some ketchup or mayo or something. You can get little salt and pepper holders, or you can wrap them up into little bits of foil and bring a single serving with you. Little sachets of spice can add so much interest to a meal, and they weigh nothing, they take up no space. Snacks, just things that are light, or put them in something where they're protected, so that they can't be squished if it's something that you don't want it to get squished. Just think it through. Don't bring anything too heavy. Don't bring anything that will go off. Don't bring any tins. Just plan ahead and only bring what you need. Don't bring tons and tons of extra food unnecessarily. Okay, so what we need to go through next is the order that you should be packing your bag in. So I'll see you again in a minute. Okay, excuse me. So when it comes to considering how to pack your bag, you need to consider two things. Firstly, weight distribution, and secondly, the order that you're going to need things. So the heaviest things should go here, towards your back and in the middle of the pack. So that's going to be things like your trangier, clearly is some of the heaviest stuff you're going to be carrying. And then you want to work from the bottom up. Clearly you're not going to need your sleeping bag until last. That's the last thing you're going to need, so put that at the bottom and work your way upwards. Your tent or your trangier, as we've already said, is going to go in the middle because you won't need those till you get back to camp. There are places that you can put your roll mat on the outside of the pack, so that, don't worry if you're thinking how on earth does that fit in there. Things like your evening stuff, so your wash bag, your camp shoes, your nighttime hat, your towel, your pyjamas, your book, all that kind of stuff can go fairly near the bottom as well, sort of in the middle of the pack. Use these things like, knickers and tops and things like that, underwear, whatever it is, socks, shove that into the little gaps in the middle of the pack. Excuse me. And then the thing that's, around that same area you're going to have your food as well, your evening food. So again, that doesn't need to be right at the top, or your cutlery, that kind of stuff, that can be somewhere in the middle because you're not going to need that until the evening at expedition. What you're really going to need though are these sorts of things. These are the things that are going to need to go either on the top of your pack or the outside pockets, because there's so many pockets, and we'll go through all of those. So your waterproofs, that would be so stupid, wouldn't it, to have those right at the bottom? Don't do that. Have them near the top or on an external pocket so you can grab them quickly. Snacks, you want those on external pockets. Your water bottle needs to be in the pocket on the edge. A scarf, gloves, suntan lotion, loo roll, hand sanitizer, your power pack, things that you might just want to suddenly grab and need quickly. You don't want to dig around for those. Have those all at the top or on the external pockets. Your multi-tool as well, your insect repellent, and obviously your map and your compass. They should be in your hands anyway, or around your neck. So just think logically. What will I need last? What will I need first? What will I need quickly? And I need to get to access to, and what is heavy and is going to make my throw my balance off if I have it on the outside edge. That obviously needs to be nearer your back, as I've said before. So just work backwards. I think that's the best advice. So what I'm going to do now is actually pack all of this, and you'll see that all of this can easily fit in that bag, no problem at all, and then we'll go through the actual features of the bag itself. See you again in a minute. Hi, welcome back to the final part of this week's training video, packs and equipment. Just two things to add to what I said earlier. I realised I made a couple of errors or forgot to mention something. When I was talking about the best kind of materials, the best fabrics to buy your clothes in, I mentioned merino wool. Also, man-made fibres, they're just best. So either merino wool or man-made fibres rather than cotton, because cotton just gets heavy and cold if it gets wet and it doesn't dry quickly. So just wanted to add that to it. And also I noticed when I was just packing the bag a minute ago that actually this is a 65 litre bag, which is perfect because it's between the two different sizes. But we have 60s as well, and we have 70s too. So as you can see, I've got everything in here now with room to spare. So if you'd like to come a bit closer, I'll show you some of the features of the pack. You've got your water bottle down in one of the side pouches here. There's another one on the other side. You can see there's all sorts of different zipped pocket areas. I've got this attached to the front because there's a little loop there. In the zip pockets, I've got things that I'll need in theory quite quickly. So I've got waterproofs in there. In this zip pocket at the back, I've got some snacks, some nuts, some fruit and things. What have I got in the front? I've forgotten. Let's have a look. Oh, there's more snacks in there actually, so I won't show you those as well. Then, as I'm sure you've noticed, the roll mat is attached to the outside here. Can you imagine if you had to put your roll mat on the inside, what a waste of space that would be? So that's really, really helpful. But you might be thinking, hang on miss, what if it rains? You made sure that we had a bin bag or a dry liner on the inside there to keep everything dry, but what about stuff like this on the outside? Well, that's where the rain cover comes into play. So if you have one of these bags, the rain covers are actually inside here. And they're attached to a toggle so they don't blow away, and they've also got adjustable parts on them, so you hook them round to the outside. They cover the entire outside of the bag, and they're in this very fetching orange colour. If you have one of the other bags, don't worry, because we have loads of these anyway, and they will all fit on the other bags. So if you have one of the Van Goghs or something like that, we'll give you a rain cover. Again, if you want to bring your own bag, that's fine. Just let me check it first so I know it's suitable. And if you need to borrow a rain cover, we can lend you one of those. That's not a problem at all. So I'm just going to take the rain cover off for a moment so I can show you the last few features of this pack. Now, these packs in particular are really, really handy for those of you who are a bit smaller than me. So if you're quite slim, if you've quite a small frame, if you're quite short, these bags will go really, really small. I think this waist goes right down to a 26-inch waist or 24-inch, really, no, 26-inch waist. So they will go very, very small. If you're more, averagely sized, normal sized, you can still use one of these, or one of the other ones might be suitable for you as well. So don't worry, whatever size, whatever build you are, whatever height you are, we've got a bag that will suit you. And you can see there's all sorts of different bits on here that can adjust. So you can adjust the length of the back here, you can adjust the length of the straps, you can adjust the hip belt, everything can be adjusted. Do not just grab the bag and stick it on and think, oh, well, that'll do, because you will be amazed the difference it will make if we adjust it for you. And we will help you adjust it. So once you've got the pack on, all of these different parts are adjustable. So you can adjust the hip belt here, and you can see these are nicely padded. And alongside there, you've also got these really handy little valuable pockets. So I put things like either my phone charger in there, or my little bit of cash, or a few snacks, or something like that. You've also got up here that can be tightened. Oh, and also, this is a whistle, by the way. Not a very good one, but a whistle nevertheless. So if you need to scream and shout for help, you've got your whistle there. All of this can be adjusted, so you can lean forward and adjust all of that. This can be adjusted. We can make this fit you no matter what, so you will be comfortable. And you need to be comfortable because you're going to be carrying this for at least one day, maybe two, depending on which of the expeditions you're on. And we do have certain rules about how much you can carry. So whatever you weigh in kilos will weigh you, and then you can carry up to 25% of your body weight in the pack. That's actually quite a lot. Think about a quarter of your own body weight. That's quite a lot. So we try to encourage you to maybe carry less than that, more like 20%. Some students that get really good at trimming the weight down and realising to not bring too much, and they get it down sort of 15%. But we'll help you with all of that. We'll sort out adjusting the bags for you. And I think that's everything we need to go through in this training video. So I hope you've enjoyed it and you're enjoying it so far, and I'll see you next week for Countryside Code